right. Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines, and today I'm here with Barb Techel. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Barb, for being here. It's going to be a treat for me, for everybody watching.
Me too.
Yay! For all of you watching, today Barb has been percolating with cicada wisdom. And we're we're going to talk about what that is. And I'm super excited to hear more about what that is. But for those of you who don't know Barb, um, just the really brief bit of information about her, and I'm sure we'll hear much more, is that Barb is an intuitive who is the creator of the Animal Reflections Healing Oracle deck, which I think actually some of you already have. I have, and it's so beautiful. Um, and Barb is also the author of three nonfiction books and two children's books. And you do Oracle deck readings for people and their pets, and also just people on their own. Is that accurate?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't label yourself an animal communicator, but I would say it sounds like you do communicate with animals quite a lot.
Right. Right. I do it through Oracle cards because anything is looking at the energy and the patterns, and that has been my journey in my life, of both components of what I've learned from animals and working with Oracle cards, which have always helped me to go a little bit deeper
Mm,
because sometimes our own psyche can block things, and symbolism on Oracle cards and the meanings can just help me maybe drop to a place that I'm not seeing or I'm afraid to see.
awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah. And that's a subtopic I would love to get to maybe a little later on after we talk about the cicada wisdom. But one of the reasons I wanted to ask you to be part of a conversation is because I think you're such a beautiful example of how we each, like everybody listening, all of us have our own ways of tapping into this, whatever you want to call it, divine knowing, earth knowing, the knowing of our souls, the infinite divine wisdom that is ourselves. And you have really cultivated some of your own ways of doing that in such a beautiful way. And they're different from mine, right? And they're different from other people's. And so that's a whole subtopic I would love to explore a little bit, to hear a little more about your own way and all of that. Super interesting. But yeah, I would love to start with cicadas. Why cicadas? And tell us, and it's on your shirt. And it
Oh,
says,
sure. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
well, as we were talking before we hit the record button, I was really, really inspired by your recent talk with the Orc Cloud Lele Kahuna. Is that how you say it?
Well, yes, close
Yes.
enough.
And the Colea bird, the golden plover bird slash golden plover bird. And the golden plover just really spoke to me, which led me to cicadas. But I just want to back up for a moment because I've just been on this really fun journey since you did that video and just listening to plover. And I woke up like 2:45 in the morning one morning, and plover showed me that within the word plover is love.
Aw.
And then, all the work that you're doing, all the work that I feel that I'm doing, and what that this time that we're in right now is we are coming back to that place of love for ourselves, love for nature, love for the world, love for others. Um, so so that was all brewing in me. And then one day I heard on the TV about this emergence, which they were calling a co-emergence of
Mm.
cicadas. And co-emergence brought me to the place of the co-remembering, and how we're all coming back into this remembering, right? And what I loved about co-emergence with cicada was we're not alone.
Mm.
We aren't alone. So just a little bit about what I learned about cicada, as this really started to speak to me. First of all, um, right away I felt like I have to have something of cicada to like embody this energy of cicada, right? So I had to get the t-shirt. I loved one of the t-shirts I saw that they were calling this the comeback tour.
The comeback tour.
Comeback tour. It just made me think about the times that we're in, that we're coming back into our souls and our own song and the cicada,
Wow.
right? Right?
Oh, wow.
So this just really started to speak to me. So what's happening is this hasn't happened in, the last time it happened was 1803. So
Mm.
221 years ago. If you go to the little mini course that you started, I put some more information in there about, I was connecting numerology with this too, and the number 21,
Mm.
because 21 is showing up a lot too. But anyways, I digress a bit there. So 221 years ago is the last time this happened, when millions of cicadas emerged from the ground. Now, this is just happening in the Midwest, and it's, I think it's 13 or 15 states west of the Mississippi River. I
Mm.
get east of the Mississippi River, sorry, east of the Mississippi River. But so there's a 13-year brood and there's a 17-year brood that are co-emerging.
Oh, okay. So I think of cicadas as in that 17-year cycle because
Right.
I grew up on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast now. I grew up on the East Coast and I remember when I was, I think, seven or something, there was it was so massive and that was so what can you distinguish do you know the difference between the different
I don't,
okay.
I haven't gotten that far. They name it brood and it's numeral something for the 13-year and the same with the 17-year.
Hmm.
But they're two different life cycles that only co-emerge every 221 years.
Wow. Okay, so the 221 years is the two cycles coming together. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes, I know. So there's so much to be with there, right?
Mm,
So as I was hearing about this event, then I also heard some negative press about it and that they were warning us, cover your ears, it's going to be deafening. And ever since I had a journey with snake, which maybe we'll get into today, and I grew to have this really deep respect and honor for snake and how it helped me in my growth and evolution. Right away, I'm like, no, I'm going to be an advocate for the cicada. what
wow.
what can we learn instead of covering our ears and not listening? How about we open our ears and drop into our hearts and really listen?
Mm,
And it made me think about what you've been talking so much about lately, and singing our own song. Oh my
mm,
gosh, here's the cicada, not here. How lucky are we to be here at this time? 200, it only happens every 221 years, along with all these other things that are happening that haven't happened in so long. Um, so so yeah, it made me ponder, where, to help us look at in our lives, where aren't we singing our song?
mm,
What do we really need to tune in and listen to within ourselves? And we know what it is, if we're willing to really listen. And it just made me think too, they live under the ground in the darkness, for 13 or 17 years. Um, so it's time to emerge from that darkness. And I do like to say also, and there's good in darkness too.
mhm.
We're marinating in the possibilities. Yeah, there might be fear there, but I think cicada is reminding us again, the good of being in that darkness and then emerging. And one thing I found too was, as they emerge, of course, they're little baby nymphs when they go into the ground, and now they're adults with wings and a song is what I found. And
Oh my God.
like we
Wow.
are adults with wings and our own song, right?
Mm,
So yeah, I'm just kind of looking here. There was so much that I've been finding, but I really think it's an opportunity to add our voice to this co-emergence of these cicadas, right? It's time now. This is not going to happen again for 221 years. Well, let's not miss the boat here.
mhm.
Um, And I just think it's so exciting to be able to witness this. So some of the symbolism of cicada is immortality, resurrection, spiritual ecstasy, synchronicity, harmony with the universe. That one really spoke to me, harmony with the universe, because there's so much coming out now, how everything is interconnected, and once you start to see that, it just, like listening to you, Martha, and the ord cloud and the plover bird and then the cicada, it's all connected. It's all here to help us.
It
Um,
also reminds me actually of the fact that the sun right now is at the peak of its cycle, so we're getting all the solar flares, and like it's like intense, and people are like almost, it's a similar thing, like cover your ears, like cover your like you need to hide from the solar flare or whatever. But I don't know, it's like there's yeah, anyway, keep going. I just there's lots.
well, that's really interesting when they, like you did that. I'm thinking about the cicada, and the warmer the temperature gets, the louder their sound gets.
What?
So that
Wow.
so when they emerge, they're only here for 4 to 6 weeks to lay their eggs, um, to mate and to lay their eggs, and then they're gone.
And sorry, can I throw in one other thing?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
wait a
Please.
minute, how there's some way in which this all, anyway, it's just so beautiful. So Dawn Bowman Brunke, who we both know, we're both
Yeah.
connected with and friends with, yeah. So she is an animal communicator, and she and I were emailing yesterday about whales and the aurora, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
how there's this idea that somehow the when we have the solar flares, that's causing these extra auroras. And then there's one kind of rabbit hole to go down in the relationship between the auroras and a song they create actually in our
Oh my,
atmosphere and
yeah.
in our with our earth, and that sound is very resonant with and even sounds like whale song. So anyway, it's like if I just imagine, the cicadas waking up, the auroras being stronger, the whales singing with that. I mean, it's
Oh my gosh. Now let's go back to We Are the World that you
oh
are song
oh
also. Look, right? It's
right.
so now
Wow.
everybody is waking up and singing their song. Every
Mm,
every sentient being is
every
waking up
beat,
and
right.
singing it, right? Right?
Oh, oh.
So here's another cool thing I found was I like write down the sides of my pages and everything here. So let me find that one spot. I found this just this morning, a Hopi mythology about the cicadas. Let me see here. Wrote it in green. Oh, they believe that the cicada emerged from the Grand Canyon. How did they write that? In the Grand Canyon, which I think they also refer to as the fourth world, and a time when the water covered the earth. Now, I didn't go any further into this, but it just really kind of sparked something into me that I want to go a little deeper with that and see what that has to offer. Um, but yeah, I just think there. I mean, just look what we what we uncovered just in this little bit talking about cicadas.
Yeah.
So, that's my whole thing is, how animals have so much wisdom, and they so often reflect, or I like to say mirror for us. They're like an oracle in the world,
Mm,
offering us this wisdom, and especially if we're in time of pondering and we're lost, and we don't know what next step to take in our life. They show up. And if we can pay attention and be in awareness, and then just really be with what are they trying to offer me? How can I grow and evolve from what their teaching is for me? So
and for me also, for me it's like it's also actually a journey, because I've talked with Dawn several times. I've done a few interviews with her, and each time I've done that, like I've said to her in those interviews, I have really powerful personal connections with the spirit world on all kinds of levels. But non-human animals is kind of like one of my last frontiers, if that makes sense. Like it's like one of the my being um hasn't fully gone there quite. Like I'm still learning, I guess, my own way of being in the animal realm. And something that I feel myself doing over the last couple of years since I started actually talking with Dawn is it feels like I'm being called to drop deeper and deeper, further and further into this web of knowing that includes literally everything. But it's like I drop into a different part of my being in order to feel that web that the animals are we are animals, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
we that is actually naturally the way we communicate, and that we are is to be in this, the way I feel it is like this web of knowing that's everything. And I feel like often non-human animals are tapped into that web constantly. That's just how they are. Like they can know, like, okay, I need to fly from there to there or whatever it
mhm.
is. And yeah, so anyway, for me it's a journey of learning my own way of dropping into whatever that thing is, becoming more of the totality of who I am and who we all are.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like it's all it's like you knowing so much about astrology. I'm fascinated by astrology, but to like, you know, could I go down that whole thing? Sure. But I gleaned something from listening to somebody like you who has, and then that's why I got so excited. Like I was said before we got on the call today, was I just got really excited recently. I mean, I've been watching your videos for a long time and always get something, but I got really excited about that orc cloud and the plover bird. And I just started to see all the connections, more clearly. And we all bring a piece to the puzzle. We all bring a piece to the puzzle. And it's one of the things I love about you so much is that you are so in tune, and it's so beautiful how you respect and honor how each person does bring a piece to the puzzle,
Mm,
and you want to highlight that, to help the collective. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so we all bring a piece, and um it all matters. It all matters.
No, it really all mattered. And I'll just throw this. I mean, I know, I know you know this, but I just feel like I want to say it again. Is I think that so many of us, especially maybe women, have been told that our voice doesn't matter, right? So it's
Right,
like,
right.
oh, it's the most tragic thing for me. I feel really, really sad when I see that and feel that. But I think it's the biggest theme actually in my own work is primarily people who tend to gravitate toward me are women who
Yeah.
are somewhere, I mean, in general, like 55 and up. Um,
I
some
qualify.
people,
I qualify.
no, I mean, and I'm 47, so that's kind of funny. It's just, I don't
Yeah.
know. But no, I do have people in my community, of course, who are younger, who are my age and younger, but it's almost entirely like that age group of women. And it just feels to me like basically what's going on is that yes, like we each have this puzzle piece that's so crucial, so needed, like you with your work with all of this. It's literally tragic to think of it as not being supported to come into the world. Like I could cry. Like it's
Yeah. No, I
really
totally
upsetting,
believe
right?
me. I understand. I totally understand. I mean, I've felt that and lived that in my own life.
Yeah.
Afraid to even say this, how cicadas relates to my own growth and evolvement. Like people think you have whacked out, lady, but no, I
Hmm.
have not.
No.
Oh no, I have not, because the more and more I'm with this, and how alive I come when I connect these dots and I see how it plays out in my own life. There's something to that, and the more I step into that, the more I want to be that, and not, and it's important.
Yes.
We have to say these things, because I know we're not alone in feeling these things either.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just, yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on and on. I'm very passionate about it. It's like, oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, we have to heal that within ourselves. It's so needed, and it's so important that, even if you're somebody that, maybe you don't want to do it like on a video or something, but maybe you just share it with a friend. Because
Yes.
that puts that vibration out in it's a healing vibration.
Yes.
That's been my own journey of healing my own repressed trauma from childhood. Is I was terrified to even say this vision I had carried with me most of my life, that
Wow.
I was gonna, people are gonna think you have lost your mind,
Mhm.
you know but the healing that came from that, the freeing of, about coming back into my body, was like one thing that happened to me too. I want that for each person on this planet,
Yeah.
because if you do, and again, you don't have to tell everybody, just tell somebody you totally trust
Mhm.
and you feel safe and protected with, and that is gonna free you in a way that it's unexplainable. It's just undeniable what happens.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a perfect segue. Do you want to talk a little about your own way, your own personal magic, your own personal
Yeah. Well,
um
it's funny
yeah.
because as it unfolded, I didn't say, okay, I'm gonna do A, B, and C. This just unfolded.
Hmm.
And when I look back and I think, wow, how, but for me, and I know like a lot, it seems, especially women, we get like to our late 30s, early 40s, and we're just questioning everything. And that was me. And I have a really deep love for dogs. I really can connect easily with them. And I just started to see my reflection in them of certain, different times in my life and different things I was struggling with. And it wasn't until my fifth dog. Wow, I had five dogs already in my life. Her name was Gidget. She was a little dachshund. And she is the one who would actually literally shake from me, because she started to suffer with seizures.
Oh.
But that was one of my clues. Though it would take me a while to unravel all that, but she was there to mirror for me, basically what I came to learn as the invasiveness wound of having been touched inappropriately as a child. And it would all come out through her behavior and the things, and what I was struggling with mentally, physically, emotionally, trying to take care of her with seizures, and she had multiple bladder infections. And I wrote about this in my last book. Um, but every animal that comes in, well, most animals that come into our life, I should say that, has something to teach us. And Gidget was really the catalyst for me freeing that repressed memory that I had. And really, that repressed memory had not come into my consciousness till I was 29 years old. And it was just boom there one day. And for the next 25 years, it just kept reoccurring. And it just came out through taking care of a special needs dog, which was Gidget, where I just reached a point where I couldn't cope. And I learned so much through that journey um, that a lot of times when you can't cope with something in life, there's an underlying reason. I was so anxious, full of anxiety, and it's because I had never given voice
Mm,
to what
mm,
it
mm,
happened to me.
mm,
And once I did, I could finally start to heal from that.
mm.
So dogs have been pivotal. I had shared with you before we started today, I really wanted to talk about my snake ally,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Mm,
because so many people do have a fear of snake. And while I never really feared snake, um, it's not like snakes, I didn't really want to look at them, but I would be initiated into dancing with the wisdom of snake when I one summer saw a dead mama snake and four of her babies were dead on right behind my driveway. Like did I back over them and kill them, which just was mortifying to me. I
Yeah.
just couldn't even like live with the thought if I had killed them.
Mm-mm-mm.
So through working through all of that, I was invited to, at first I was working with Dawn. She was just, she's my friend. So she was like, I said, I really want to try and understand what this is about. And at first I'm looking at this was a time I was going through menopause, was I trying to shed the skin of what I was and who I was becoming, and some other things that were going on. But at one point, I was invited to go even deeper and look at because the snakes were behind my car, and I was really struggling with did I run them over? Did I kill them? And I was invited to look at what was I metaphorically, what was did I was crushing underneath the tires? What was deeper?
Mm.
And I remember after I was invited to do that, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable, difficult work. And because we're trying to figure it out with our mind, right? And I was just frustrated and I didn't understand and I got a stomach ache. So I decided to lay down. And the minute I closed my eyes, that vision was back.
Mm.
And I pushed it away again. I'm like, can't be real, da 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 da. And then one day, talking with Dawn, just out of the blue, I finally spilled what had happened. It's like it had its mind of its own and it finally came out.
Wow.
And I remember, when I finally released that, it was like a snake shedding its skin.
That's what I was feeling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had this new skin now that I had to be comfortable in.
Mm.
And when you release something, that's traumatic like that, it's that feels uncomfortable too because you just left that which was comfortably behind. Now I'm in this new place. And that would, oh, let me just say this first. Because after that experience, this was many layers to healing this, but after I had shared that, it was like the next morning or the following or a couple mornings later, I was finishing up my yoga practice and I was just laying there in meditation, and all of a sudden I saw this green light enter the right side of my right foot. That's right, my right foot, and it started traveling up the right side of my body, and that green light then turned into a green snake, like the snake I had seen on the road. And it traveled up this side of my head. It went back down the left side of my head, out my left foot. I still can just totally see it. And then I called her a she snake. Well, yeah, because she had the babies. And then she traveled up between my legs and came to rest right here. And just we were eye to eye. And it was the most beautiful experience. And I just knew in that moment everything was going to be okay. And
Mm.
I'd later learned that is what they refer to as a Kundalini awakening. Mine just happened to be very gentle in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I would continue to work with Snake. And then eventually, I had known in my heart that the two people I always wanted to tell what had happened to me was going to be my husband and my mom.
Mm.
But I had not done that at that point. And I was more afraid to tell my husband because of the old societal beliefs that, I had heard that if you share something like that, you're damaged goods. And,
Oh.
I thought my husband would leave me. But
Mm.
eventually that came out. And it was Gidget that was helping me with that, because I had almost made a. I would just say if somebody's really interested in this, read the book because there's so many moving parts to it, and I'm just giving you a really short synopsis.
Mm.
Um, but oh, I lost my train of thought there. Now was saying that. Oh, I had almost made the tragic mistake of putting Gidget to sleep because I couldn't cope anymore. I just couldn't cope. And I remember, having a reading done with Dawn for myself and Gidget. And at one point, Dawn just wasn't sure how to help me at that point because I was just really struggling. And she said, I'm just trying to be an advocate for Gidget and all the rage that I had carried. And I said, but who was an advocate for me?
Ah.
And there it was. It was finally, I finally had gotten the rage out. Um, yeah, I don't even know where to go from there because there was so much. But Gidget helped me with that, and then Snake, was trying to help me shed that skin that no longer served me, and wasn't serving me. Because when you repress something, it affects your life, and you can't cope. You can't cope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your body knows, and it's being told to not know, but it does know, and it doesn't work.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. So snake, it's like the cicada. It's a bug, it's a bug. People don't like to look at bugs, but any animal that we fear is always an invitation to look at something within ourselves. And after I had that whole, happening with snake, I just really came to deeply respect and honor them,
Mhm.
for how could I not? you know I mean, the same with dogs. How Gidget, the moment I got her, I swear, like within 5 minutes of knowing her, I'm like, I just knew she was really wise, and I something in me just knew that, and I started calling her my Buddha dog. She just had
Mm.
this presence, this energetic presence about her that was so intriguing and so, you know and like I started out saying, I never thought my healing journey. Well, who does? I mean, who says, okay, I'm going to have this snake come into my life and, and it's going to teach me all these things. We're not taught this in schools, right? But the more I see the world through animal wisdom and like oracle cards and symbolism and even meanings of words, it that's how I understand life. And I think that's the way we're meant to understand life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just in terms of snakes, the Dawn, of course, has written a whole book on snakes.
Yes.
The first
With
of her books.
stories included in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
A
you're
short, yeah, a short
oh
synopsis of
yes.
life. Yes.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since I read it. Like, it's such a beautiful book. And the first interview I did with her was about her snake book. And one of the many, many, many things that she talks about, of course, is how snakes were originally actually revered as being connected to the divine feminine. And so then, anybody who's interested in that whole rabbit hole, go and read Dawn's book for sure,
Yeah.
or listen to that interview
Yeah.
or whatever. But um, yeah, I mean, and to bring back this, there's just so many connections to your story, of course, right? That actually this deep inner sanctity, I want to say, gets restored when we are honored as our being, as our body, as who we are, and then the snake is honored, and the cicada is, each of us is honored, right? All of this dishonoring suddenly can come back into being honored. It's just all connected in
Right.
so
Right.
many ways.
Right. And there isn't there I think, like we started out saying too, there isn't one path. There isn't, there isn't one, it's your way. And I think it's really important to just, try to stay open to that, to be curious. And, I know it's hard not to go into that place of fear, and I do it too. I still do it sometimes. I'm afraid to look there. What am I going to discover? But instead of the fear of that, yeah, what am I going to discover? How can I, you know, live with even more joy and more peace and more harmony?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if I would love to transition of one more topic I would love to hear about a little bit, but if there's something still you want to say on that,
No,
jump.
I think I, no, I do want to say
Oh
something.
yeah.
This is
Yeah, yeah.
important for me to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe this is what you're going to transition to, but one of my favorite things to do is to do oracle readings with people and their pets. Were you
I
going to
was just
say
about to, I was just about to ask you about the oracle cards. Yes.
well, well, doing that work of healing what I needed to heal within myself. And so often, if I might even want to venture to guess every time there is something within the animals we share our life with that I believe we've made these contracts to come together and to serve each other. We're always mirroring each other. It's just not about what I needed to heal, but also what Gidget needed to heal. With
Mm.
us, it's our human mind and our thoughts where animals don't have that. So, anyways, through that whole, the more I worked on healing that trauma I had not addressed, listening, finally, I listened to that little girl within me who was screaming at me.
Yeah.
Um, I was able to witness in Gidget, because Gidget, I would have defined then as an anxious, nervous dog. Barb was the anxious, nervous person. But as I healed that within myself, I watched my dog transform into this calm. Yeah, it was incredibly beautiful. She became much more calm and at peace. And one of the most beautiful things, I was able to see that. My husband doesn't always live in the world of how I see things, but he saw it. And I had not said anything to him. I was just watching this unfold. And I remember it was about 2 weeks later after like the big reveal, telling him everything that happened. And I remember him saying, without me saying anything, have you noticed Gidget is calmer and more peaceful? And that was such a joyful moment for me that he recognized that. And I said, yeah, I absolutely did.
Mm.
So I just felt it was important to say that because why I became so passionate about marrying my love of oracle cards, which I use oracle cards to read the energy and the patterns of what's going on between a person and their animal, because there's always something reflecting and mirroring there. Um, and because I actually witnessed it and felt it with my own life. And I want that for every person and every animal that is struggling in their relationship. And it is a relationship. That is a relationship together. It's no different than with a person. Um, and and I just feel strongly that, the animals walking this planet are here guiding us and helping us, and they are cheering us on, and they want the best for us. And
Mm.
when you think about it, when we're healing this, this, where the animals are then healed, the planet is healed, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I had to say
Yesterday,
that about Gidget because I really appreciate when I get to honor her her teaching and her healing for me. Um, I'll be forever grateful to that little dog. Forever.
hmm,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course. I want to ask you one more question about Oracle cards, but before I do that, I just want to say my own little story. Yesterday, so I live right on the coast of California and I can walk to the beach from here, from my house. So yesterday I was on my walk and I walked up to the cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean and there were dolphins
Oh,
in the water. And it's like my favorite thing, right? Um, and these two, and hadn't had enough sleep this past weekend, and I had a little bit of like feeling a little bit of a stomach ache. Like I was a little bit like not terrible, but a little bit off. And I walked up and saw those dolphins, and there were two of them. And at first they were doing their play that they play together, right? And so they were jumping like this kind of parallel to the shore, which is typically what they'll do right at that spot. But then I've rarely seen this. I've seen videos of dolphins doing this, but I don't know if I've ever seen them do this in person. Anyway, rarely if I have. The two of them then turned perpendicular to the shore, right? And so then they were jumping through the waves, like toward the shore, like out of the wave. You know what I'm saying? So like the wave
yeah,
was
yeah.
cresting, and as the wave was cresting, the dolphins were jumping through the wave together.
Oh, wow.
And it was
That's
so
beautiful.
adorable. And for whatever reason, dolphins always remind me of one of my cats. My kids think I'm insane, but they do. they're just so cute, you know? And they're just so, I don't know. Anyway, they remind me of Mookie, my little cat. And so, but they were obviously so happy and just loving playing together and all of that, and just so joyful, all that feeling. And whenever I see dolphins in particular, and I walk to the ocean and I either see the dolphins physically or even I just tap into my sense of the energetic of them because I know they're there even if I can't see them. And
Right.
what the number one reminder I always get on an energy body level is wholeness. And it's
Mm,
this reminder of life is whole here on earth, here as earth, in existence everywhere. And I feel like maybe one of the reminders, I don't know, that non-human animals help us to come back into is that in a sense, it's okay. Like there's a sense of, at least that's the reminder for me. Maybe it's the reminder I need sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting, but it's, the sense of the ultimate truth of life is wholeness.
yeah.
Um, which again brings me back to that whole soul song thing and how we're all always whole and our soul song is always here singing and all of that. Um, yeah, but it was anyway. It helped my stomach ache was gone by the end of
Oh,
my
I
walk.
love
And,
it.
you
I
know,
love that. Yes, I love that.
yeah, because I think we can get caught in a sense of not enough or something missing or something being less than whole. It's just like kind of automatic given how much trauma is in our world, and
Right.
to be in a place like the ocean and see those dolphins playing and excited and happy with each other. Yeah, there's something about it every single time that brings me back to that. Like it's like I go boop, like back to myself.
Right. I love that story. And as you were getting to the end of that, it just reminded me of, when I really started to understand that animals were reflecting things for me was my very first dog, Cassie Joe. She was a chocolate lab. And I distinctly remember she had got diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And there was not much we could do for her. But what just struck me was, and I was like in my early 40s when that was she would just, so she had this big tumor growing on her hip that just got bigger and bigger, but she would just be out there, just, she was no different. She was happy and running and playing. I mean, there was a point where she couldn't, but when the tumor got too big, but it just reflected for me. I'm like, but she's dying. And, I wanted to stay in that place of sadness and loss. And I just realized, and it just made me think of how you say, this bringing us back into the whole way of being in the world and in our life is, yeah, that's there, but we can hold both.
Mhm.
And am I gonna spend, they had given her like 6 months to live, she lived nine, but 9 more months. But am I gonna stay in that sad
Right.
and think about the loss, or am I gonna see the joy and partake in that joy now? There'll be plenty of time, to grieve her loss. But I just remembered that was such a pivotal teaching for me too. Is that and that is all part of life. Um, we can't have, it's like we can't have the dark without the light. We can't have the joy without the sadness. And you know, especially when it comes to animals, what a privilege it is to have and give that love. Of course, there's going to be pain and grief that goes with it because it's the ultimate to have that love and joy from them.
Well, and that love is what's consistent, maybe. It's like that doesn't go away, no matter if
It
you're feeling
never goes
happy or
away.
sad or
Yeah.
whatever.
And
Hmm.
even when they're gone, I think about, after Gidget was like one of the dogs that I really stayed really connected to after she was gone. I don't feel her energy as much anymore. Sometimes it's real present there, but for probably at least a good year, if not more, I really felt, because I don't know if it's just because the teaching was so deep, the healing was so deep and it was so pivotal. Um, but it is there, all, we just have to make the intention to connect with that. And they're there. I have
Mhm.
no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind that they are there.
Well, and our feelings toward them are there. Like it's literally right here, physiologically, chemically, even what they, yeah, the love we feel and know is definitely here for sure, for sure, in addition to their spirit or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, was there anything else or
No, it's good. Cool.
no?
Cool. I love how we just went all those different ways.
Yeah, no. So can you tie in your work with oracle cards? Like I would love to know how you came to start using them, how you created your own deck. Um,
Yeah.
and then, how do you use them with people? Like we've gotten sort of little glimpses of all of that, but if there's kind of more you want to share
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Well, I mean, I work pretty much kind of the same with people, just person one-on-one, and then people and pets, because it's all relationship, whether it's the relationship with ourselves or the relationship with another. And with animals, I'm going to say pets, our companions that we share our homes with, because we're sharing that same energy in our homes. And because for me, I was able to like recognize through what like my animals have mirrored for me. And then I've always been fascinated, well, I shouldn't say always, but for a long time, I've been fascinated with oracle cards and how they reflect, oftentimes for me, they reflect something I can't necessarily see, or I'm not willing to see, or
Mm.
in a different perspective that I may not be considering. Because I guess I just came to realize in my own journey, our psyches and our minds are incredibly powerful.
Mm.
And they can block us from seeing what we really need to see, because along with fear. And I just feel, and I've experienced, and then working with other people and their animals, it's just such a gentle way of looking at that which you're struggling with, that you're feeling challenged by. I'm going to give you an example. One of my favorite stories of working with somebody and their dog Max, a yellow lab, and she had been struggling with her dog who was aging and couldn't do the things it used to do, and she just really was having a hard time with that. I can't tell you the specific cards that came up that day, but the gist of what came from that reading was she realized that Max was reflecting for her. She was struggling with some of her own health challenges as well as aging.
Mm.
And then she realized through that, animals don't struggle with that. They just take what, it's our minds and our thoughts that get in the way, where animals just go with the flow of this is just how it is.
Mm.
um, so and through that reading, through the cards that revealed themselves, she was able to see that as she was gentler with herself about the aging process and her health challenges she had, she could cope better with what was happening to her dog Max, and just be there and hold space for him, allow him to be a dog. So often too, I know one reading I did also, where the woman realized it was her anxiousness that was affecting her dog being anxious. And it was such a beautiful moment when she said, I just need to allow my dog to be a dog.
Aw.
Um, so that's how I look at that with oracle cards. I'm looking for patterns and the energy between both of them, the energy that's happening within the dog, the energy that's happening within the person. I usually work with a set of questions that I have where I'm looking at where the person is internally, where the dog is internally, and then how they can move forward. Um, and we just pull oracle cards around that and see what. And I always, it's important to me to also involve the person and what's resonating in what I'm intuiting and what the cards are saying. And a lot of times the reflection that they're offering back, because it's all connected and it paints a bigger picture. And, we're all energy in motion, just like our animals are. We're constantly in motion. And again, it's a relationship. And how can we come into harmony with each other? And so often our animals are mirroring for what's going on within us. And the only way they know to do it is sometimes through behavioral or illness. So as I talked about earlier with Gidget and her seizures, she had
Mm.
not had seizures before I adopted her that I was aware of, that they knew of.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she was trying to shake what I needed to heal out of me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just am somebody who I gravitate towards dogs like it's a magnet, but I've come to the place too where I really respect the animal if they don't want to approach me. I respect their space. Um, but that doesn't happen too often. We're usually like, I don't know, I just feel and sense them more so I think than sometimes people, because people are harder, because we've got these walls up,
Yeah.
animals don't always have that, but it's a mutual thing. That's the thing. The healing between an animal and a person is a mutual thing. And if we really could understand that, we are here to help each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't, you be honest about whether this is makes sense or feels right. I'm wondering if there's a way for you to really briefly pull oracle cards for the collective, like for listeners, like maybe around a relationship with Cicada. I don't know. I don't know how this works for you. So you tell me what feels right or not. Or do you have another idea or um
Yeah. Can you see my head going?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think it's most? Here's what I'm feeling called to do.
Mhm.
What do we think is most pressing right now that would help the collective? Is there something? I don't know. I can't. Um,
Well, maybe one question that arises a lot, of course, is how do we navigate this time where, like the cicadas are emerging, like the cicadas are the metaphor, right? That this loudness maybe is going to be so loud or is so loud that we want to cover our ears. And, how do we navigate this time when things are kind of accelerated?
yeah, that's good.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how do we be with these times that are in one sense very chaotic, very so in a sense too, so much truth is emerging,
mm, mm, mm,
is
mm.
very uncomfortable. So how do we be with all of this as well as hold this space of what we know we truly are?
Yeah.
Let's take cards and see what happens. So
Yeah.
this is my deck, Animal
Yeah.
Reflections Healing Oracle,
Yay.
which within my deck, I do have 21 of my animals represent the 21 major arcana in tarot walls.
Oh, beautiful. And people can order those through you,
Yeah,
right?
to my website.
Yeah, so I'll put the link to your
All
website.
right, I'm just gonna pick a card here. We'll see if we want to pick another one. Oh my gosh. Okay.
What is it? What is it?
Well, before I got on the call with you, and I do this in my readings before I get on a call with to do readings for people and their animals or just people. I will pull a card. Is there something I need to know? Well, today I did that before we decided to do this interview, and it's the same card. It's Eagle and Vision.
Wow.
So during these chaotic times, it's really calling us to go to a higher perspective,
Oh. Mhm.
to see, because it is truly happening for our highest good and for a reason. This is, and that's something I learned through my journey too. It's not happening to us,
Mm.
it's happening for us. It's happening for the planet. It's happening for us. It's happening for the animals, that we can evolve and be a better planet, be a better, you know, come back to that place of love. So it's calling us to that higher perspective.
Mm.
To
Well,
not get, not, it's, let's be up here, like
yeah,
the observer. Let's be the observer up here. Because it's real easy as a human with our emotions and our own traumas to get caught up in that. And then we drop into fear and then we can't move or move forward. So how
yeah.
do
Well,
how do we do that? How do we stay in that perspective? Let's
yeah.
let's see what pops up.
Oh, cool. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
That just came to me. I'm
Great.
like, let's go with that. So how do we stay in the eagle's perch, as Pam Gregory always
Yeah,
says, stay
okay,
on
yeah.
your eagle's perch. Oh, it's tiger and devotion.
Oh my
It's
God.
I'm just getting it's about staying devoted to our own well-being because this is part of my belief is we each have to do our own healing work, stay devoted to
Mm,
healing what we need to heal within, and that by default, by vibration,
mm,
is a ripple effect that helps heal the planet.
mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Um,
tiger, I mean, tiger is tiger. Tiger just is themselves. I mean, just look how just they own their tigerness, I guess I'm trying to say. And we have to own that within ourselves too,
mm,
you know. Yeah.
beautiful. Um, is there, I can add my own reflection, but is there more you
Yes.
wanted to say?
No,
Okay.
please do. Yeah, I want to
Well,
hear.
yeah, what I get, anybody who listens to me at all will know this, and maybe you already know this about me. But so I, every day in my praying, get taken out of the time space continuum, right? It's like kind of the ultimate eagle's perch perspective. And what I get shown every single day is that the time space continuum is like a chrysalis or like a womb or something. I don't know. I don't know how what cicadas are in when they're under the earth, but
Yeah, they're in like like sort of like a little thin shell thing.
here we
They are.
go. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, of course. I know that.
yeah, because they shed that when
Right.
they come up from the ground. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like that, similar, right?
Hmm.
And so what I get shown every day is that my role, and I think a lot of our roles on the massive soul level is to hold that perspective and just hold the healing space for the entire time, all of time and all of space as a chrysalis or as the cicada shell or as the womb or whatever it is. Um, and and then but then today what I was shown in my prayers actually fits with the devotion part of it too, which is that it was bringing me back to the reality that um that healing space and that perspective of being right outside of the whole time space continuum, the love and I would say the devotion of it permeates all of it, right? So even when we're here as earth beings embodied as animals and as beings of this planet, the same what the spirit world was saying to me was it's not only outside of the time space continuum where that devotion and that love exists. Of course, it permeates, it is all of everything. So your earth life, you need to be grounded in your earth life
Yeah.
as that devotion, as that love. So you're not disembodied while you're doing you're embodied at the same time you have the eagle's perch.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, I love that you said that because I think it really speaks to the healing process too, because I know before I really dove deep into my healing, so a lot of times it was I wanted to be up here
Mm, mm.
because I couldn't be grounded in my body. So it did feel safer and up here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then I mean I've heard it said as spiritual bypassing, then you have to bring the two together. It had just like you said so beautifully in my astrology reading I had with you a while ago about bringing those. coming back into balance, you
Mhm.
know, um, in a specific area in my chart. So yeah, that makes so much sense to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, and I'm just remembering in my praying this morning when they were showing me that, they were showing me my cats. And they were saying, like the cats, they're not just sitting up here as an eagle's perch. They are that in a sense, but they're right here and they're fully in their body and they're embodying that love and the play and all that, And anyway, so it's funny that it's eagle's perch
Yes.
and a tiger.
And I love that you brought that up about cats, because if you ever watch them, they are totally embodied here on earth, but you can see them sometimes. You're like, where are
Yeah.
you now?
Yeah, I know. I
Wow.
know.
It's like a person who is leaving the earth. You can, I mean,
Yeah.
I've done hospice work with my
Mhm.
first dog who's in a wheelchair, therapy dog work. And yeah, wow. Like they're there and they're here, but they're more there than here. But our job while we're here is to be two. That's what makes us whole and more complete, is to do that, to get closer and closer and closer to that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Super beautiful, all of it.
Can we talk 3 more hours?
Yeah.
I love talking to you.
Yeah.
This is so great. Thank you.
Oh, easily could. Um, any last thing that needs to be said before we go?
I really feel this is complete. I really do. I just so enjoyed everywhere this took us today. Thank you, cicadas. Thank you, the Oort cloud. Thank you, golden plover. And it does. You reminded me when you brought up the book about Snake, which my story was in there, and I know Dawn. I'm good friends with Dawn. That's how I came to know you.
Hmm. Yes, it is.
Following your work, I'm like, who is this Martha Alterhines?
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And
Yeah,
again,
I love all the connections, and I really loved how this all unfolded so organically, and just to live in that way is just a gift.
mhm,
To follow those synchronistic moments, and just ride that, just like the dolphins. Let's ride the wave. Let's jump through the wave, right? Yeah,
mhm.
beautiful,
Do you
beautiful.
have any last thoughts for people who, I mean, again, I think the biggest theme I would say in people in my community and therefore people probably watching this video is that in different ways, each person, most people, most of us are feeling that, yeah, there's some way that I'm meant to be in the world where it's all of who I am and my soul voice is meant to be shining. And I don't know what that is, or I don't know how to do it, or I know what it is, but I'm scared to do it, or, people are at different stages and all of that. Um, any any words of wisdom or I don't know,
Pull a card.
encouragement or
I'm gonna
oh
pull a
yeah,
card.
oh yeah, yeah.
I know what's in my head, but that's coming from my humanness. So let's tap into the energy of the universe through the animal oracles. Let's see
Awesome.
what that message is.
Hmm.
Pick a number. Pick a number, Martha.
Two.
Between 1 and 10.
Okay. Two.
I love that you picked two. It's iguana and simplify.
Wow.
I'm feeling called to. It's really about holding it all, and really not getting so caught up in our thinking mind.
Yeah.
Let me just grab this. I just feel like this is important. We humans make everything very complicated, you know.
We sure do.
I
Hmm.
can say that for myself and laugh at myself because I tend to do that. Curious and adventurous, iguana skillfully balances one leg on the solid piece of fruit in the picture here, while the other gently stabilizes on the flexible leaf. It's as if iguana has paused in contemplation, giving thought to how far and how high to climb. In this way, it is reminding you to ask where in your life you may be doing the same. While goals and aspirations are fine, Iguana is inviting you to stop to critically think about what this next step. As you ponder the situation, it's important to ask yourself if this change will make your life simpler or has the potential to create more complications, taking you away from what matters. Iguana encourages you to tread lightly by looking at this from all angles. Don't try to force an outcome, but rather spend some time in stillness so the answer aligned with your heart can reveal itself. Give each thought a chance to be heard. As you do, pay close attention to which feels heavy and burdensome, and that which feels light and joyful. Let go of any worry about any what if scenarios and follow instead the buoyancy of what lands with delight and satisfaction in your heart. Sometimes goals are rooted in a past way of being when your true desire is to simplify your life. Iguana is gently nudging you to take care and time to mend these old ways before proceeding. Embody the energy of Iguana as you move forward by staying curious, allowing your true self to take the lead, and remaining in balance as the desires in your best interest lightly and effortlessly fall into place.
Yes. There you go.
See,
That's
I
mhm.
turn to the animals because they always know. Because my human mind, my human thinking mind will go in the wrong direction. So yeah.
Well, it completely fits how the spirit world speaks to me absolutely about my own self, my own life. And that's how I gauge think like when I'm deciding do this interview or not do this interview or do this class or not do this, what am I, whatever I'm called to do, I feel it in my body and either it feels light and like ding, like yes. And like there's, it gives like there's energy that comes through it that's playful and fun and light and all that. Or I get a heaviness in my body and I go, nope, okay, then that's a
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. And it might be a no now, but
Yeah.
it
But
might be
exactly.
a yes
Exactly.
later on.
But
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important to remember too. It's just a no
yes.
right now because I don't have everything I need right now or whatever
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Yes. And actually even this is my way. So I'll just say this in case it happens to resonate. But as one example, what I also do in myself is when I drop into that place, I'll look at sort of time ahead. If it's something like where, yeah, I know I want to do an interview with so and so, but what would be the right timing? Like if that's my question, then I feel it in my body like, oh, like I'll feel like right now is a heavy no, but I go along in time through the year, like the circle of the calendar of the year, and I get to let's say July, and then it suddenly sparks light. I'm like, okay, it's a yes for July. It's a no for right now, but it's a yes for July or whatever it is. And yeah,
I love that staying with that flexibility of that too, because that can shift too. It doesn't,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And then I'll check in again, a week later or whatever, and
right,
yeah, exactly.
right.
Yeah,
Which is
fascinating.
exactly what happened with us because originally you're like, I'm feeling July, August. Okay, that sounds good. All
Yeah.
of a sudden the whole cicada thing was coming up. How about
Yep.
now?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly
Like,
that's probably why that example
go
came up.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it wasn't quite supposed to happen yet. Like I knew I wanted to interview you. But it wasn't the timing when I first thought of it, what, a couple weeks ago or something. But I got a yes about July, and then suddenly you said something at some point, and I
Oh,
went,
the plover was talking to me, and then you're
oh,
like, I kept getting this thing like I was supposed to reach out to you, and I'm
yeah.
like, because
Oh,
I wanted to reach out to you about the plover.
that's what it was. Yeah, yeah. My guides were so loud in my ear one morning. I was making breakfast for my kids. That's what it was. And they were like, email her now. And I was like, I'm in the middle of making breakfast. I have to take them to school. What in the world? It was like we had 20 minutes to leave or something. And I was like, okay, fine. I picked up my phone and I wrote you really fast on my email on my phone. And then it turned out you had a dream that night, right? Or
Right,
something.
right.
And
That
you were
morning
going
I
to
had
email
that
me.
dream. Yes, about plover. Well, it wasn't a dream. Plover woke me up. That's usually how it works
That's
for
what
me.
it was.
They
That's what it
wake
was.
me up between 2:30 and 3. I'm like, really? Can't you
Yeah.
wait till like 7?
Yeah. Yeah. And then my guides were like, "Meh," and I was like,
Yeah.
really?
I totally laughed when you said that. I'm like, well, I know why.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so
Hmm.
funny. Well, awesome. So we listened and here we are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. So your website is Joyful Pause.
Joyfulpaws.com, and it's pause, PAWS, like
Yes.
animal paws, joyfulpaws.com.
And that
Yeah,
link
my
is
cards are on there about my readings, my books. Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
yay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so, so much, Barb.
Yeah.
Such
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
Martha. This has been so, so enjoyable. Just my heart is singing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know.
Heart is
Same.
singing.
Yeah, and we both I know would love 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 to hear other people's thoughts, reactions, reflections. What is your soul song saying about this and what
Yeah,
does it spark in you and um please join in with this conversation.
that'd be great.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. See you all soon.